512 acres of land in the middle of Utah.
Hey y'all, I'd recommend not to touch it till we see if it's radioactive or not.
No neighbors, no signal, just red rock, open sky, and according to everyone who has ever owned this place, UFOs
Aren't yet, but could they really be covered with superconductive ceramic materials?
shape-shifting monsters, cattle mutilated with surgical precision, and portals to other dimensions cracking open in broad daylight. Welcome to Skinwalker Ranch, a property that has burned through millions in private research funding, attracted billionaires, Pentagon officials, and an entire History Channel camera crew, and produced, after decades of investigation, exactly zero conclusive evidence of anything. Let that sit for a second. Zero. After all of that, here's what makes this story genuinely fascinating. It's not just a ghost story. It's a ghost story that got trademarked, a ghost story that somehow pulled $22 million in US government funding.
Watching this makes me want to do all kinds of follow-up.
We're going to have to. If we're going to figure out what it is, we're going to have to do lots of follow-up.
Yeah.
A ghost story that's now on its 6th season of television, still hasn't found a single thing, and keeps getting renewed anyway. How does a cattle ranch in Utah become the most famous paranormal hotspot on the planet, built almost entirely on the word of one family who lived there for 18 months and then left?
State, the normal state, you can still see the tear in the paint.
That's the real mystery of Skinwalker Ranch, and it has absolutely nothing to do with aliens. In 1994, Terry and Gwen Sherman bought a 512-acre ranch in Uinta County, Utah. The plan was simple: raise cattle, live quietly, enjoy the landscape. What they got instead was 18 months of what they later described as the most terrifying experience of their lives. Here's the thing though, the area already had a reputation before they arrived. Locals had been calling northeastern Utah UFO Alley since the 1950s. A science teacher named Junior Hicks had documented nearly 400 first-hand accounts of strange lights.
Covered half of the ceramic sample with actual gold to act as a protective coating.
And paranormal activity across the Uinta Basin, before the Shermans unpacked a single box. So they didn't stumble onto something weird. They moved into the most paranormally preloaded zip code in America. According to the Shermans, the strangeness started almost immediately. Multicolored orbs, crop circles overnight, 14 cattle mutilated with surgical, bloodless precision.
I wanted to verify that a physical change really happened and it wasn't an optical illusion.
No tracks, no blood, no footprints. One cow had a hole carved into its left eye with a strange chemical smell, and zero sign of what caused it.
The reference ceramic is in position number 5.
All right, here we go.
And then there was the wolf. Terry claimed he encountered a wolf 3 times the size of any normal animal, shot it at close range with a high-powered rifle, multiple times. Chunks of flesh flew off. The wolf didn't bleed, didn't fall, and just calmly walked away. Terry followed the tracks, and they simply stopped, mid-stride, as if the animal had evaporated into the Utah desert. By 1996, the Shermans were done. They sold the property, told their story to a local reporter, and left. Within 3 months, Las Vegas billionaire Robert Bigalow, who had literally just founded his own UFO research institute, bought the ranch for $200,000. Right story, right buyer, right moment. And the most important detail nobody ever mentions.
Why was it so hard to drill through whatever this stuff is?
The family before the Shermans lived on that exact property for 60 years and reported nothing. Not a single bulletproof wolf, not one surgical mutilation, not a portal in sight. The paranormal hellscape started the moment the Shermans arrived and ended the moment they left. Bigalow didn't just buy the ranch, he turned it into an operation.
Scientists, this sound frequency was like the kind of communication signal you would get from a satellite orbiting the Earth.
Under his National Institute for Discovery Science, the property was wired with round-the-clock surveillance, cameras everywhere, motion sensors, observation posts, a rotating team of credentialed scientists monitoring every inch of the land, waiting for something, anything, to match what the Shermans had described. And for nearly a decade, they didn't find it.
We see this signal at 1.6 gigahertz. It was pretty bizarre.
What they did find were stories, equipment failures at suspiciously cinematic moments, cameras shutting down right before something happened, wires physically ripped out, electronics malfunctioning in ways that felt significant but could never quite be measured or repeated, always just out of reach of anything verifiable. At one point, a retired Army intelligence officer on the team concluded that the ranch might be home to a precognitive sentient intelligence, something that could predict the researchers' actions in advance and sabotage their equipment accordingly, which is either the most groundbreaking discovery in the history of human civilization, or exactly what you'd conclude if nothing ever works and you still need a reason to keep going. Because here's the uncomfortable reality. After years of surveillance, millions of dollars in private funding, and a full professional team living on site, Bigelow's own lead investigator admitted they had found, direct quote, very little physical evidence of anomalous phenomena. Very little, after a decade.
It's brittle.
This is really thin.
Well, look at that.
With unlimited access, and then somehow it got bigger. A Defense Intelligence Agency official named James Lakatsky read a book about the ranch, visited the property personally, and claimed to have experienced something he couldn't explain. He returned to Washington. He spoke to Senator Harry Reid. And what happened next reads less like science and more like a fever dream someone turned into a government memo. $22 million of taxpayer money for Skinwalker Ranch. The program was buried inside something called the Advanced Aerospace Weapons System Applications Program, which sounds like it should involve cutting-edge military technology, not invisible wolves in the Utah desert. The justification was vague. The oversight was minimal. The results were, once again, quietly unremarkable. No peer-reviewed breakthroughs, no publicly verified evidence, no moment where the scientific community stopped and said, wait, this changes everything.
Inside the mesa. There's no good reason for that as far as we're aware.
Just silence, and a budget that had already been spent. This wasn't a Kickstarter run by enthusiasts on the internet. This was official US government spending. Signed off, approved, funded, all based on secondhand accounts, a decade of failed private research, and one man saying he felt something weird during a single visit. Imagine that logic anywhere else. We don't have proof, but something felt off. We're gonna need $22 million. In most industries, that's how you lose your job. At Skinwalker Ranch, that's how you get a budget line. The program faded out. The institute shut down. And after 2 decades of surveillance, credentialed scientists, and government money, Bigalow quietly sold the ranch in 2016 for $500,000. He had paid $200,000 in 1996.
Tellurium is a semiconductor material that is used in solar panels.
A 150% return on a property with zero proof of anything paranormal. Say what you want about the man. He understood the product. The buyer was Brandon Fugel, Utah real estate mogul, self-described skeptic, and the man who would turn Skinwalker Ranch from a failed research project into a franchise. He told almost nobody. For 4 years, he investigated the property in near total secrecy, which is either the behavior of a serious scientist who doesn't want media interference, or a real estate developer who understood exactly what he was sitting on. In 2020, he revealed himself, and he brought a camera crew.
The plan tonight is to have Blazing Bear perform a series of ceremonial songs.
The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch premiered on March 31st, 2020. The format was simple. Fugel and his team explore the property with scientific equipment, react with escalating urgency to every electromagnetic reading, and end each episode without finding anything definitive. Then they reset and do it again the following week. The team includes an astrophysicist named Travis Taylor, a physicist named Eric Bard, and the head of security, a man named Dragon. His real name is Brian Arnold. He and Fugel have been best friends since 1992, when they served as missionaries together in Hawaii. They've known each other for over 30 years. And somehow, the most qualified person Fugel trusted to guard the most paranormally active property on the planet is the guy he met on a church mission in Oahu. Make of that what you will. The show was developed by the same production company behind The Curse of Oak Island, where a different group of men have been digging for buried treasure for over a decade and have also consistently not found it. The History Channel has essentially perfected a genre. Expensive investigations that never conclude. Serialized mystery without the inconvenience of an answer. Terrible science. Genuinely brilliant television business. Reviewers called scenes obviously staged. Author Jason Colavito, who studies fringe mythology professionally, described the entire Skinwalker mythology as entirely a modern creation.
Talking about objects looking like they're flying into the actual stone of the mesa and then appearing and coming back out.
Fabricated in the late 20th century. Science writer Russell Moule criticized the show for presenting zero actual evidence while framing everything as credible scientific inquiry. The show's own network synopsis for season 6 promises, and this is a real quote, Revelations of epic proportions. Season 6 premiered June 3rd, 2025. Dragon isn't in it. He had to step away to care for his son. Revelations of epic proportions minus the guy named Dragon. Meanwhile, the trademark on Skinwalker Ranch, filed in 2017, registered in 2020, covers providing recreation and entertainment services tied to the property. The alien portal is now a legally protected asset on someone's commercial real estate portfolio, and the show keeps manufacturing near breakthroughs on a rotating schedule. Radiation spikes, equipment failures at key moments, mysterious lights caught on camera at just the right angle, each one teased across an entire episode, stretched across a full season, never quite resolved, because resolution would mean the show ends, and the show cannot end.
But from almost the ground up to 5,000 feet or more.
Season 7 is already confirmed for 2026. Here's the strange part. The show isn't failing. 6 seasons, a spin-off, a 7th season confirmed. Beyond Skinwalker Ranch launched in 2023 to export the concept internationally because apparently one unresolved location wasn't enough to sustain the business model. So now they're not finding things in multiple countries simultaneously. By every traditional metric, this is a success story, but the longer it runs without answers, the more the format quietly starts to collapse under its own weight. Because escalation has a ceiling. Each season needs to go bigger than the last. More dramatic readings, more intense reactions, more moments engineered to feel like everything is about to change. Before the episode ends and nothing does. The crew reacts to every minor anomaly like they've just split the atom.
Shot into the 31-foot high blob zone were split in two.
There's something physical going on there.
And then it cuts to commercial. And then they come back. And then they reset. And then they do it again. It is the television equivalent of a loading screen that never finishes loading. Viewers have started to notice. Reddit threads read like forensic investigations, with frustrated fans analyzing episodes the way analysts pick apart financial reports, counting minutes of actual new content versus repeated footage, tracking how many times the same clip gets replayed in a single episode, measuring precisely how little happens per hour of runtime. The results are not kind. In some episodes, less than a third of the runtime contains anything that wasn't already shown earlier in that same episode. The rest is padding. Recaps of recaps, previews of things that won't happen, reaction shots to data that leads nowhere. Some viewers have timed it down to the exact second, not as a joke, as evidence, against the show. And that's the trap. The show cannot resolve. Resolution ends the mystery. The mystery is the product.
Point at the triangle for the last 4 years? If so, then what the heck could it be?
Finding actual, undeniable, repeatable proof would be the single worst thing that could happen to Skinwalker Ranch as a brand. Because then it's over. No more questions, no more cliffhangers, no more reason to tune in next week. So instead, the show sells something far more sustainable than answers. It sells the feeling that the answer is just one episode away. And that feeling is apparently worth 6 seasons, a spin-off, a merchandise line, and an audience that keeps watching, year after year, waiting for something that is structurally designed to never arrive. Skinwalker Ranch is one of the great American grifts, and the beautiful, maddening part is that it's not entirely clear anyone is lying. The Shermans might have genuinely believed everything they described. Bigalow clearly believed enough to spend 2 decades and millions of dollars pursuing it. Fugel says he was a hardcore skeptic right up until he witnessed a UFO sighting with his own eyes in broad daylight.
Vanished. One more Sparky rocket. Oh, we got a malfunction. Everybody.
The researchers on the show aren't performing their reactions to every radiation spike. They look genuinely invested. Everyone involved seems, at some level, completely sincere. And yet, 60 years of prior owners, nothing. Decades of professional surveillance and credentialed scientists with unlimited access, nothing conclusive. $22 million in government funding signed off by actual officials, nothing conclusive. 6 seasons of weekly television with a full production crew, still nothing conclusive. At some point, nothing conclusive stops being a mystery and starts being the answer. But that's not the product they're selling. The product is the search itself, the feeling of being on the edge of something enormous, the weekly ritual of almost finding out. The ranch doesn't need to deliver proof. It just needs to keep you believing that proof is coming. Every season, Fugel and his team stand in a Utah field staring at equipment, reacting like they're about to rewrite the laws of physics. Every season, they don't. Every season, History Channel renews it anyway, because they figured out the real secret of Skinwalker Ranch a long time ago. You don't need to find the answer. You just need to keep people convinced that you're looking. And if 6 seasons, a spinoff, and a government budget haven't found it yet, season 7 probably won't either. Like and subscribe. We'll be here, looking.